So Mondeo ST200, another good looking car and extremely fast. Do these things sell well?
Extremely well. We seem to sell, well, we do sell every vehicle that we buy. We've seen quite a few of these over the last couple of months, but with the special paint on them, Recaro Seats, they just look the part.
What do you think makes them so special? What appeals to people on these cars?
204 brake horsepower, I would say, plus they're extremely comfortable, driving incredibly well.
Now that the new Mondeo's come out to replace this shape, what sort of effect has that had on the values of these cars and the Mondeos in general?
The Mondeos in general have been very good sellers, but the new shape coming out obviously has helped depreciate them slightly, but not by very much at all, as you would expect with any manufacturer bringing out a new shape vehicle. Obviously they become more desirable, so therefore make the older shape just less desirable.
What was the reason that the ST24 was replaced by the Mondeo ST200?
It's because the GSI was just slightly pipping it at the post of the brake horsepower stakes, so Mondeo decided to hit back with just a slightly beefier suspension, better drivability and just a few more horses under the bonnet.
Mass-produced cars like the Mondeo and the Vectra tend to get a bit of a bad press, but they're not that bad cars, and people tend to buy them in big numbers, don't they?
Well, because they sell in big numbers, it means they're readily available second-hand for the man in the street, so they come down in value quite nicely. They hold on to their money once they've dropped initially from the new prices because of the rarity of the cars. So people tend to enjoy driving them, and obviously, if looked after and got a full service history, should recoup quite a lot of their money back.
Has this car held on to its value better than the Vectra GSI, or are we talking about much the same, really?
I would say same of the same, because the car's actually slightly dearer than new from the GSI now because of the leather interior. I would say much of a muchness.
It's always interesting when you jump from one car into another, two cars that are very, very similar, to see what the differences are. And I think you can immediately tell in the Mondeo that it has a slightly softer suspension setup, which is quite surprising to me. The ride is a little bit softer around town. The steering is very precise, the gearbox is nice and slick, and the brakes are good, as you would expect. So if you're going to buy this sort of car, you want to know about performance, don't you? Well, it's pretty good, and it matches the Vectra almost to 0.1 of a second. We're talking about 7.6 seconds in the 0 to 60 dash, a top speed of 140 miles an hour, and it'll do the sprint to 100 miles an hour, should you be in Germany on the Autobahn, of course, in about 20 seconds, which isn't bad. Inside, I like the interior. I like the carbon fibre, I like the trim, I like the Recaro seats. But you can't get away from the fact that it is basically underneath a Mondeo. And they've come on leaps and bounds with the new Mondeo, and this, well, it all looks a bit dated. But it's very comfortable, it's a nice place to be. I like the white on blue dials on the instrument panel too, and discreet little touches around that indicate that this is 200 brake horsepower and an ST200 on the dials and on the gear lever as well.
So it's decision time. Which of these extremely cooking cars would I take home tonight if I had to buy one? Well, I've been pleasantly surprised. I really expected the Mondeo ST200 to come out on top and be the better car. It's got more power, I like the looks of it. But out on the road, it's not quite up to the mark in my opinion. I think that the Vectra GSI is a better car to drive. It's got a good suspension, it's very sporty and a nice feel to it too. Forget all you hear about Vectras being bad cars, they're not. And for £14,000, I reckon that this is a good buy.